Welcome back, everybody. It's time to once again give you the College Football Weekly Awards. This is where Slade, Nick, and I go through the past week's games. We find you who we think the best offense, defense, full team, and the best game, and then give you our nominations and then present to you a winner from the past week. We've had a lot of fun with this so far. If you missed the past weeks, we have a playlist created here on YouTube. Go check those out. We really look forward to doing this every week. We hope you enjoy this as well. Without dragging out this intro any longer, let's go ahead and dive into this week's College Football Awards. Okay, so two rules to go over here before we get into these. As always, the first rule is if you played an FCS school, it does not count. You can't, rack up 700 yards and get best offensive award. The other criteria is you can be nominated for every single award, but you can only win one award per week. So with those rules out of the way, let's go ahead and start on the offensive side of the ball, like we always do, giving you our four nominees this week for best offense of week 7. Those nominees are Washington, LSU, Ohio State, and Oregon. Let's break down these nominees one by one. So first up is Washington. They had that 36-33 win over Oregon. They had 415 yards of total offense, 0 turnovers. That's a lie. They actually had 1 turnover in that game. On the flip side of that game, we had Oregon 33 points, 541 yards. They did have 0 turnovers in that game. The next nominee is Ohio State. They played on the road at Purdue, 41 points, 486 yards, but they did have 2 turnovers. And the fourth and final nominee is LSU. They played at home against Auburn, 48 points, 563 yards, and 1 turnover. So your winner for best offense of week 7 is going to LSU. Just a very impressive performance against a pretty decent Auburn team. With Oregon, obviously they had pretty good stats, but they lost the game, so it was kind of hard to justify giving it to them. Washington with the turnover and just kind of the lack of points, I would say. Obviously, Washington and Oregon brought very good defenses to that game as well. It was going to be a hard fought matchup, but LSU looked very impressive at home against Auburn. And with Ohio State, the 2 turnovers there kind of took them down a peg and just elevated LSU above them. Let's go to the other side of the ball now. It's time for your best defense award. We had a lot of really strong contenders. Here, our nominees are Arizona, Notre Dame, and Florida State. So let's go ahead and look into these guys. First up, we have Arizona. They were on the road at number 19, Washington State. 6 points allowed, 234 yards allowed, and 3 forced turnovers in that game. And they upset number 19, Washington State. Notre Dame upsets number 10, USC at home. 20 points allowed, 302 yards allowed, 5 forced turnovers, and they also had a defensive touchdown. So, very impressive performance, especially against the defending Heisman candidate and an offense that looked almost unstoppable all season. Everybody with USC, their question was around their defense, and here Notre Dame really their offense struggling. And our third and final nominee is Florida State. They played Syracuse at home. 3 points allowed, 261 yards allowed, and 2 forced turnovers. Your winner for best defense of week 7 is going to go to Arizona. This came down between Arizona and Notre Dame. I'm just very impressed with how Arizona went on the road. They've been playing very good football here lately, and they shut down what was I thought was one of the best offenses in the country with Cam Ward leading Washington State, and they held them to 6 points, 2 field goals. They forced a bunch of turnovers and held them under 250 yards. So really impressive performance out of Arizona here. Now it's time to look at the full team and give you our best team who we thought of week 7 was. Your 3 nominees are Duke, Penn State, and Notre Dame. Let's go ahead and look at our nominees. First up, we have Duke. They played NC State at home this past week with a backup QB. They had 301 total yards. They gave up 305. 24-3 victory. Both teams had 1 turnover, so 0 turnover differential for Duke in that game. Our next nominee is Penn State. They played UMass at home. They won 63 to nothing. They had 408 yards of offense compared to the 109 for UMass. -1 on the turnover differential, though. It was a wet, sloppy game. Honestly, very impressive that Penn State could muster up 408 yards. but they did put the ball on the ground twice. UMass only turned the ball over once. And they also had 2 punt returns for touchdowns. And looking at Notre Dame here, again, we already talked. They played USC, 48-20 win. They had 251 yards to 302. Most of that was due to the 5 turnovers that Notre Dame forced. Really kept the ball on the plus side of the 50, and they didn't have too far to go to score on their drives. They also had a kick return touchdown, and as we mentioned earlier, a defensive touchdown with a scoop and score. So your winner for best team of Week 7 is going to go to Notre Dame, and with going back to the defensive award, Arizona absolutely did deserve it, but, the thing with, 1 award win per team is you have to kind of think about what was more impressive, Notre Dame's team play or just their defensive play, and that kind of jockeys around who gets what award. But very well deserved awards for both teams. Arizona did have a very impressive defensive performance. Notre Dame obviously had a very impressive team performance against USC with the special teams, offense, and defense. And now it is time for the last award of the week. It's the best game. We have 4 nominees this week. It was an amazing week of college football. Our first nominee is Oregon at Washington. Then we have Illinois at Maryland. Next is Boise State at Colorado State. And then we had Stanford and Colorado from Friday night. So let's go ahead and look at these games individually. First up, Oregon at Washington. Heartbreak for me, but still, it was a great game. 36-33. Oregon did miss the game time field goal as time expired. The ending of that game, with Oregon going on 4th down, they don't get it. Washington gets the ball back. They go down. They take the lead. Leave enough time for Oregon to make their own drive. This game had everything. Looking at our next nominee, we have Illinois at Maryland. 27-24, Maryland kicked a go-ahead field goal with about a minute 38 left. Illinois drives down the field. They kick a game-winning field goal as time expired with the Kevin James meme in the background, which is pretty funny. So great game out of Illinois and Maryland. Big upset too. Maryland came into the game as 14-point favorites, and Illinois walks out with a win. And the next best game nominee is Boise State at Colorado State. A lot of people did not stay up for this game on Saturday night, but this was exciting. Colorado State wins 31-30. Boise led 30-10 with 4:07 left in the game. Colorado State got I believe 2 onside kicks and a Hail Mary as time expired. Just absolutely insane things that happened in this game. If you watch or if you pull up ESPN's GameCast, they have the little bar saying, what's your percentage chance of winning according to I think it's FBI or whatever. And Boise State's was at 99 for most of the second half, and then at the very end it just drops to 100 for Colorado State. So a really fun game there and a huge win for Colorado State. And the fourth and final nominee was Stanford at Colorado, 46-43 in double overtime. Colorado led 29-0 at half. Stanford with a huge second half comeback, and obviously the play in overtime with the receiver catching the ball off Travis Hunter's back. Games like that where you get awesome moments always help elevate this above it just being a regular double overtime game. But the winner for best game of Week 7 is going to go to Boise State at Colorado State. It was going to go to Oregon, Washington until this game happened. Just the comeback, obviously ending on a Hail Mary. Honestly, thinking back, West Virginia and Houston probably should have been nominated for this award as well. But this was just a really fun week of college football across the board. And it's always fun when it's difficult to pick the winner for best game. Last week, Texas, Oklahoma made it pretty easy on us. But this week was difficult. A lot of fun. And it's why we love college football. So that'll do it for this week's awards. As always, we thank you guys for joining us. Hope you have a lot of fun with us here. And like I said, if you want to see the past awards, make sure you go check out the playlist. And if you look forward to this, hit like and subscribe. We make these videos every week. We also do the college football stock market. We have Blitz Boys, our weekly college football podcast that comes out on Thursday mornings. And then we also have our Saturday morning live stream called Out of the Tunnel, where we get you ready for this week will be week 8 of college football and the full slate of Saturday games. We have Penn State, Ohio State this weekend. A lot of fun matchups across the board. So make sure you guys join us there as we get you ready. And then also on Friday night, Slade and I will be doing another live stream. Our Swear Jar Sweat that we've done the last 2 weeks now. This will be the 3rd week in a row. We'll be watching SMU at Temple. We put a bet down on the game, and then we sit there and watch it live, do a little watch along, talk college football, do some trivia. It's a lot of fun. This week we put our money on the SMU Temple under 57.5. This might be the first one we actually had to sweat it out a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys join us there and head over to our social media and check us out. We'd really appreciate it. And we will see you guys in the next video.